Boxing King Media in association with Boxro, Spencer Oliver, a huge night for Sky Sports and boxer and Wasserman, Chris Eubank Jr., Liam Smith this Saturday night. How excited are you for this pay-per-view?
Do you know what? I'm really excited for this pay-per-view, not just because the main event, Smith and Eubank Jr. is such a great fight, a real 50-50 where, you know, there's a big divide on who wins and who loses on that one. But look at the undercard, man. Like, you know what I mean? Richard Riakporhe versus Krzysztof Glowacki, which is a great fight. Esserman versus Congo, another 50-50 fight. Jack Massey gets his opportunity up at heavyweight against Joseph Parker. We don't know, you know, what that fight with Joe Joyce has taken out of Parker. Massey, it's all about big opportunity. The life, you know, that he's had in the last 12 months has been, you know, insane, man. The turmoil he's had to go through in his personal life has been tough, and that will give him a real edge in this one. You know, that guy was working as a scaffolder over Christmas. That's where he'd got to, you know, former IBO cruiserweight champion who lost his title outside the ring. Things weren't going his way, and then bang, he gets the opportunity. Boxing's all about opportunity. So it's going to be an interesting fight as well. Yeah, great card, man. Stacked card. Looking forward to it. What a start to the year.
I've got to ask you about the main event initially. Are you amazed how Chris Eubank Jr.'s public persona opinion has completely changed? It reminds me of the time when people changed their views on Tyson Fury. It seems like the same sort of thing.
Absolutely. Listen, he's gone from villain to hero, isn't he? Overnight, you know, and that's all. You know, everything that happened with Conor Benn, the fight breaking down. You know, what happened, and now Eubank finds himself in this fight, in a real crossroads fight, actually, because where does a loser go out of this? I don't think at this stage in their career, I'm not sure what sort of appetite, what sort of ambition they'd have to try and pick themselves up, brush themselves off, and rebuild again. You know, they've both been around a long time now. The winner of this fight probably gets a shot at Triple G for the WBA middleweight world title. The loser is probably a career ender. So, yeah, there's a lot on the line with this one. Both guys I know have given it 110%. It's a fight I'm really looking forward to, man, because we don't really know who's going to win. It is really that even. You know, there's many ways I can see this fight going. I think whatever way it goes, whether it's Smith, whether it's Eubank, I think it comes down to the wire. I think it's going to be close, and I see it, you know, a split decision either way. I really do. It's a tough one to call.
We're closer to Liverpool than we are Manchester, than we are to Brighton, sorry. Who do you think will be cheered and who's going to be booed Saturday night?
Well, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because if you'd have asked me that question 4 months ago, I said, well, we know who's going to be cheered and we know who's going to be booed. But the public perception has changed a lot with Chris Eubank Jr. in recent times. And they've started to come round to, you know, they've started warming to him. So it's going to be interesting. I think because we're in Manchester and I know Smith has sold bundles of tickets. This is next door to his hometown. I think the crowd will be with Liam Smith, but I think that there's going to be a lot of Eubank fans in there as well.
Liam Smith has openly said that he feels that Chris has got a brilliant chin. It's known that he's never been hurt before. And Chris suggested that Liam's got a weak chin, but he's never really been dropped to the chin that I know of. It's mainly been body shots with Canelo. So where do you think the toughness side of it, which one of these two guys is the toughest Saturday night?
Listen, mind games from Chris Eubank, you know, that's what he does. You know, he likes to get inside the fighter's head. That's part of his makeup. You know, that's what makes him tick. He's one of those characters that sort of defeats fighters before they get in the ring, and that's just another mind game, I think, that Eubank's using. We've got no reason to believe that Smith can't take a shot. He's been in with some big punches and he's soaked it up and he's come back. And we've seen him grind out wins. Wins like, you know, with Liam Williams, them 2 fights he had with Liam Williams. It was tough and he had to bite down on his gum shield. So I'm expecting him to do pretty much the same. I think what Liam Smith's not given credit for is his boxing IQ, his ring craftsmanship. You know, he's smarter than what you think. He don't just walk forward with his hands up in straight lines. You know, there's little steps. He puts shots together. He switches hooks to the head, doubles up to the head, switches to the body. So it's going to be interesting. Eubanks is going to be dangerous on the back foot, especially with the uppercuts. That's where, he really is dangerous. And with Smith walking in straight lines, he could walk onto one. But I think if we get into the second half of the fight, that's where Smith comes into his own. Because I think the engine, I lean towards Smith. I know Eubank can bite down his gum shield. I know he's gritty. And I know that, you know, he's got his father's DNA where he can tough it out. But you just see Smith outworking him in the later rounds. It depends what sort of build that Eubank gets in the early rounds for me, and whether he holds on because he will win a couple of the later rounds as well, whether he's done enough to hold on for a points victory, or will Smith just grind it out, which I probably think he may well do, and just do enough to get over the line. It's an interesting fight, man. It's like, this is one of those fights, you know, sometimes with pay-per-view, you've got to try and sell the fight, even though you know who's going to win or whatever. This one, you know, your hardcore boxing fan will know. But for the public that don't know this fight, man, stylistically, it is guaranteed to be a barnstormer. With what's on the line, it's guaranteed to be a barnstormer. The loser has nowhere to go. The winner boxes for a world title, mate. It's one of those situations. It's going to be a great fight.
And one of the most common things fans whinge about and are not happy about is normally the fact the show's in a pay-per-view. And then the next thing they look at is the undercard. Obviously, there's some really good fights. And Echo Osman versus Chris Congo is a big, big fight, a proper 50 fight. Do you think the undercard is strong enough to justify this to be a pay-per-view for 1995, I think it is?
Absolutely, massively. Echo Osman and Chris Congo, no love lost between these two, but they can both fight, man. That is going to be a barnstormer. Jack Massey versus Joe Parker is going to be a good fight, White Loss. It's going to be a great fight, White Loss. And I tell you, the potential banana skin, Richard Riakporhe versus Christos Glowacki. That is a serious fight, mate. Forget the Glowacki's last performance against Lawrence Okoli, who's tall, heavy-handed, hard to beat. Go back, you know, before the Maris Braders fight with Glowacki. Glowacki was widely considered one of the best, if not the best, in the division. He had that tough fight with Braders and come off second best, and he's never quite looked the same since then. But that doesn't mean to say that he hasn't got enough in the tank. You know, Riakporhe is one of those fighters that's relatively unproven at this level, you know, and it's going to be an interesting fight to see. It's a bit of a coming-of-age fight for Richard Riakporhe, really, because we see if he can stick up to that level. Yes, Glowacki seems to be maybe on the slide, but that doesn't mean to say that he's totally gone yet, and there still might be another fight left in him. So I'm looking forward to that one. That's a potential banana skin. It really is. A great card, man. Like, well worthy of 1995, that's for sure.
So I want to ask you quickly about a couple of other topics before I let you go. There was a recent back and forth between Eddie Hearn and Stephen Espinoza, where Eddie Hearn said Gervonta Davis is not a deep thinker, and Stephen Espinoza came out and tried to suggest that there was like a racial motive behind that. What do you make of the comments from what Eddie said and then what Espinoza said?
Yeah, there was not a racial comment behind that from what I said there. I think that Eddie was just being genuine in saying that he thought that he was a deep thinker. That was it, you know, and I think that Espinoza may have read too much into it. You know, we live in a political world, man, and that's the problem. You've got to be very careful of what you say, who you say it about. Even when you don't mean things, sometimes people take it the wrong way. It's the world we live in, man, but I don't think Eddie meant any wrong by that.
So I want to ask you about the latest on the Conor Benn situation. From my understanding and from what Conor's put on his Instagram, there's a suggestion that he's saying that the two tests by WADA were contaminated, so there's some issue with regards to the lab where they've been tested. What do you make of that?
We have to wait and see, don't we? Listen, you know my feelings on everything. You know, as it stands, he's failed 2 drug tests. Let him prove his innocence. You know, that's what we're waiting for. I've took a lot of shit over that, actually, you know, over my comments on this whole situation. I think that, you know, people saying I keep going on about it. The only reason I keep going on about it is because I get asked the question and we still haven't had the answers. And there you go. So, yeah, let's just see what comes out in the wash, mate. You know, 270-page documents. Conor said, you're going to hear, you know, I proved my innocence. You're going to hear this. I'm going to release my statement after Christmas. What are we now, January 18th, 19th? Still haven't heard anything. So let's see what he's got to say, mate. And then we can all make our minds up, can't we? But until then, we can only go on the facts.
He said on his Instagram that science is going to prove he was right. And obviously the suggestion is a contamination. Obviously, I don't know, but you're a lot older than me. But in your history of boxing, have you come across a situation where the labs have obviously contaminated the tests?
No, never. I know. Are we talking about 2 tests here, 2 months apart? So it happened twice. Okay. We'll have to see. Let's see what happens.
What did you make of Chris Eubank Jr.'s reply to that? I don't know if you saw the Instagram post that he put out.
Yeah, what was he saying on the post? I did see it, but I can't remember what he was saying on it.
Basically questioning it, saying that, you know, disagreeing with him in a nutshell.
Yeah, well, listen, it's hard not to disagree with it, is there? It's all right there, team saying this, contamination, I prove my innocence. But we need to see some fucking evidence. If we don't see that, then what are we expected to do? Do you know what I mean? You're going to ask me the question, I'm going to give you the answer. And then all of a sudden, you know what I mean, people, oh, you know what I mean, keep going on about it. No, I'm answering questions, mate. And where we stand at the moment is we still have no answers from their side. So until we get that, this is a conversation that we're going to continue having it.
And last question, it looks like Taylor Catterall's going to be announced on Monday. How excited are you for that fight?
Can't wait. Can't wait for that fight. Look, Catterall was a clear winner in my eyes in the last fight. Josh Taylor may have been undermotivated. He didn't look himself, didn't box particularly well. And Taylor, yeah, looks undermotivated, didn't top box particularly well. Catterall seemed to have his number. Had him down in the 8th. Got deducted a point himself in the 10th. Then Taylor got deducted a point in the 11th. But Catterall seemed to run out a clear winner. Only time will tell now. March the 4th, we're going to get those answers. You know, was it a bad night for Josh Taylor or was Catterall actually that good? You know, you can't take away from Catterall should have had that undisputed title the first time around. Taylor's got the chance to right the wrongs of the last fight, you know. So, yeah, it's a tough one, mate. It's a tough one because, you know, fights don't always go the way they did the first time. It's a tough one to call right now. I think we're going to get definitely a different Josh Taylor. But Catterall's going to be so motivated, mate, after what happened in that last fight. I can't wait for that fight as well. It's up in Scotland in the Hydro Centre and it's going to be great, mate.
I should have said last question to this one. I forgot to ask you. The zone deal with Boxer, a bit of a game changer. Nobody was expecting that. It's come out the blue completely. What do you think that means for like Matchroom and potentially future Boxer shows in the UK that could also be sold to the zone in the US?
Yeah, so it's interesting, isn't it, that the zone have taken the global rights for this show, not the UK rights, the global rights for this show. So yeah, interesting. I've not had a chance to speak to Ben Shalom on how that's come around, if I'm totally honest, but you know, it's a big move for Boxer. I don't know how that affects Eddie and what he's doing. We've just seen that Misfits Boxing, KSI Boxing at the weekend. Misfits have just signed up a 5-year, 30-show deal with DAZN. You know, I think, you know, I didn't see that one coming either, if I'm totally honest. So, yeah, I don't really know what to make of it. But I'm only, like you, going by sort of what I read. So, but that was a surprise for me that Boxer sold the global rights to DAZN. Interesting, mate. Changing times.
Indeed. Spence, I'll catch you later in the week. Thank you for your time.
100%. I look forward to it, mate.